Hi, this is the second video I have recorded, and it is, if you watched the first video that's presumably on my channel by now, you will maybe have noticed that I'm wearing the same shirt because I filmed these on the same day. Lighting conditions are exactly the same. Because I unstacked all the books from my shelf at once for that video and for this one, and so I figured I'd just do them both at once. And so, if I made any, let's check the focus, is it okay? I hope it's okay, I don't think I changed it. If I made any, no, I did change the focus. Oh shoot, is it still focused properly on my face? And is that? Well, if it's out of focus for the entire video, it's because I am not good at that yet. But if there are any videography mistakes that I made in the first video, it's likely that I make them in this video too, because I haven't watched the first video between that one and this one. Literally the only thing I did was move the stack that was over here into a different place in my room so that I could start working on the next stack of books. I finished filming the other video 2 minutes ago. So if I made any errors, I'm filming in pretty much the exact same way, so I'm going to make the exact same errors in this video, which is, heartening to know. But anyway, hi, welcome to the channel. This is a book haul slash TBR. It's a TBR book haul, so it is a book haul of all of the books I own. It's not really a book haul in that I didn't recently buy all of these books, but it's a video about all of the books that I own, that I haven't read, but that I intend to read in the near future. So all the books that are on my TBR that I have, and a lot of these I did buy recently and obviously didn't do book hauls for them because I didn't have a channel, right? But I'm gonna go through all of the books that are that I physically own that are on my TBR. Obviously there are a lot of books that I want to read that I don't own yet. And so I won't be going over those. So I won't have to do the thing I did last time with the iPad showing the covers, because it is only books that I own physical copies of, and I will be able to show you the physical copies. Okay, let's get started. So I think I've organized these into nonfiction first, and then fiction sci-fi, and then fiction classics. Yes. Oh, and before that, books I'm currently reading. So I'm gonna start off with the two I'm currently reading. The Iliad, for school, I know the overall arc of the Iliad, right, but I've never actually read the text, and so that'll be interesting, very interesting. This is a summer reading assignment for my literature class, and it's I'm very much looking forward to it because obviously this was on my TBR anyway, and then it was assigned to me to read, so I'm looking forward to it. And as I mentioned in the last video, I did just read this year The Song of Achilles, so it'll be interesting to see how the level of detail in this compares to that. Obviously that was focused on Achilles and Patroclus, and this is on the entire, Greek nation, but it'll be interesting. I'm very much looking forward to it. This copy is very satisfying to hold. It's hefty, it's weighty, and I like it. I'm keeping it at this distance because I think that's where the focus is. No, it's focused at, I can't tell. If I put it close, I think you can, see, I need to get better at this stuff. I don't know if it's focusing at this distance. You can see it up here, but this is the copy of the Iliad that I have. It's very nice. Okay, the other book that I'm currently reading, that I've been reading for a long while, is The Silk Roads by Peter Frankopan. It's a history of the world oriented around Central Asia and the Middle East, and I love it. It's very, very good, what I've read so far, and it definitely changes your perspective and gives you a way of viewing history that you didn't have before. The reason that I've been making such slow progress with this is that it's very it's a lot to take in. It's very dense, and because it's set in a section of the world in which you're so most of us are unfamiliar. Those of us who have had sort of a Western education. It's I don't know these places very well, and I need to focus, and I want to get the story of the chapter in one sitting. And so I don't read this unless I'm prepared to both sit down for a period of time when I know I will be uninterrupted for like an hour, and when I know I'm in a good state of mind to like focus and really absorb the history and understand what's going on. So I've been making very slow progress through this, but I'm hoping to make more and to finish it this summer, because it is very, very exciting, and I'm a history nerd, and I want to be better informed about this part of the world and its history and understand its place, and supplement a part of my education that apparently has been missing. So that's what I'm reading right now. Okay, now the nonfiction stack. This is actually a bigger stack than the last video, but I think the video will be shorter because I'm just going to go through them more quickly. The Fire Next Time by James Baldwin, really essays. It's just 2 essays, but looking forward to reading this one. Through the Language Glass, why the world looks different in other languages. Always been a bit of a linguistics nerd, so that'll be interesting. I've had that one for a while and haven't read it. A Little History of the World. I was given this a very long time ago and did not read it, or I read it then but didn't get very far. But I think now that I've taken a lot of history, right, like I finished high school history, I can read this with a little more perspective, and sort of enjoy it more and understand it. So I'm looking forward to reading that. This book, there are a few books on this stack that are rereads. This book, as you can maybe tell by how battered it is, and sort of discolored, and you see there's this tear up here, I have read many, many times, A Little History of Philosophy. It's not the best book I've ever read, but it's my favorite book, just because it has such a special place in my heart and in, the arc of my life, because my parents gave me this book. Is the lighting okay? I really hope these videos turn out okay, because I have no idea if they're focused or lit or anything correctly. It would be I can't decide if it would be a comedy or a tragedy to discover that the mic has been off this whole time. I think it's been on because I played back a few and I've heard myself, but if something like that happened, that would be embarrassing. Anyway, I keep going on digressions about the quality of the video, but I've read this book many, many times. My parents gave it to me as a birthday gift when I was in 7th grade, and it sort of influenced the course of my intellectual development and interests, and it's such a charmingly written, beautiful, fun introduction to philosophy, which I think is the most important subject in the world. I love the little, this is such a small thing, but I love the little, let me find a good one. I mean, they're all good, but I love the little illustrations at the front of the chapters. They're always so interesting, yeah. So this book is definitely, I need to reread it again. A Great Place to Have a War is a gift that was given to me by one of my uncles, who used to work in Laos, and it's about Laos and the CIA bombing campaign in Laos, and so that is very interesting. That's on my list. More history stuff. People's History of the United States, book given to me by my other uncle, and obviously this is a very famous one. I did try to read it, but I don't think I had the US history education to fully understand it, and now that I do, I want to reread it. So I want to read it fully, so that's on my list. The Joy of X, which is a book I have indeed. Is that too, direct? I feel like that's... well, we'll just hope the lighting's okay. The Joy of X, which is a book that I have read before. I actually read this book while I was on a safari. So, the car was it was tumbling over the road through the Serengeti, and I was reading this book. Not while we were looking at stuff, but I think on the way to... Ngorongoro Crater, I think. I don't know if I'm pronouncing it correctly, but I was reading this book during that trip, maybe at the hotel, or at, in the tent that we were in the Serengeti. But this is sort of the same thing as the history books. Now that I've taken more math classes, I think I can understand this book better, especially I did not understand the calculus. Well, no, I understood them. I guess I didn't fully appreciate them, because his explanations are very good, but I think I can better appreciate the calculus parts now, and so I'm looking forward to reading this again. Long Way Gone Memoirs of a Boy Soldier. I bought this book for school, ended up not reading it, but it's on my shelf, and it's, I bought it because it was a very well-reviewed book, so I'm going to read this eventually, hopefully. Reading the Way of Things. I read a Daniel Coffin essay in school, and excerpts from this book that my teacher showed me, and I very much liked it, so I bought myself a copy of this book that I intend to read. Oh, shoot. Okay, didn't knock anything over. How to Be an Okay, hi. Well, my camera died in the middle of that last take. And so I was like, oh, this is no big deal. I took the battery out. I was like, I'll just get the spare battery and continue recording. And put the spare battery in, nothing happens. The spare battery is also dead. So I charged the first battery, the one that died. It was arbitrary, it could have been either because they were both at 0. So I charged it, and I got it to like 50%, and so that's the one that's in the camera right now. I'm charging the other one in case this one dies. So it's been like an hour since that actually cut off, so I'll probably insert something between those two cuts to make it clear that some time elapsed. But anyway, I was talking about how to be an anti-racist. This is, also, I don't know if I'm in focus. I did get a chance to upload my earlier video and realized I was probably out of focus the whole time. And I was way too close to the camera because, just because obviously the book looks small on the little flip out LCD display that's showing me the feed from the video. Obviously when it's on YouTube, or when it's playing on my computer, it's much bigger, right? And if I'm filling the frame like this, that's way too close. Sitting a little farther back, hopefully the books are still clear. And I tried to focus like 4 times. The way I'm doing it is basically moving the manual focus thing, recording a short video where I come back and sit in the chair, and then stopping the video and going and looking at the focus to see if it's in focus. It's a terrible way to set focus, and I have no idea how to do it better. But I can't reach up and go like this because now my body's at a different length from the camera, so the focus I set while I'm reached over here is not the focus that's appropriate for when I'm sitting back here. So I have no idea. Hopefully this video is in focus. Anyway, how to be an anti-racist. Bought this at a bookstore. While I was with a friend who's I wanted to buy a book there, and it was the only book I recognized because it was kind of a weird bookstore. But I was going to read this one, and I was excited to read it anyway, so I'm glad to pick this up. John Green's The Anthropocene Reviewed. I've read some of John Green's fiction, and I love John Green and Hank Green. I love Vlog Brothers. I read both of Hank Green's books, which I absolutely loved. I'm not as big of a fan of John Green's fiction, but The Anthropocene Reviewed I am definitely a huge fan of, and so I'm really looking forward to reading this one, which was a gift for me from my father, who also listens to that podcast. Another gift from the second uncle, the one who got me A People's History of the United States. The Culture of Make-Believe was sent to me as a graduation gift, and so that's on my reading list. Bearing the Cross is a book, a biography of Martin Luther King Jr. That was recommended to me by a teacher of mine, so I'm looking forward to reading that one. And then last in the nonfiction section is this enormous copy, bigger than my head, of the On the Origin of Species by Means of Natural Selection or the Preservation of Favored Races in the Struggle for Life, Charles Darwin. It's huge and it's super long. It's like 600 pages. I did not realize 400 pages. I did not realize On the Origin of Species was this long, but my grandparents gave this to me as a birthday gift. So I will, read this. I was looking forward to reading this at some point in my life. I'm glad to have such a nice copy for such a big, historically significant book. But it's huge and long. I did not realize it was that long. Okay. Moving on to the sci-fi. I don't think I mentioned fantasy earlier, but it is a sci-fi fantasy section. A few things that merit reread. This is half reread, half, half just regular read. I want to finish Dune. By the way, these are the nicest mass market paperbacks I have ever seen. I wish all mass market, the covers and the spines were part of what made me buy this series in the first place, was how nice and consistent across the series the covers were. But I read Dune Messiah. I got halfway through Children of Dune, and then I think I was reading this last year, so school started. I put it down, but I definitely want to reread the first two before I go back into the third one, because Dune it's a little bit difficult to understand when you're first reading it, because you're being introduced to so many unfamiliar terms and places, and I didn't know that there was a glossary in the appendix here, which would have been super helpful, but I sort of figured the whole thing out while I was reading it. But this will be good to reread, having now known everything. I can just focus more on the plot and the themes, and less on like trying to figure out what the heck everything is and who everyone is and where in the world this is happening, or in the universe, right? Same thing with Dune Messiah. And then I'm excited to read Children of Dune. I got these out of order, but I think it's God Emperor, Chapter House, and then Heretics of Dune. And of course, reading from a nice paperback like that makes it a more exciting reading experience. So, love those covers, and I'm going to be having Dune next on the list. And then fantasy. Oh no, I didn't finish sci-fi yet. Sci-fi. I said in the other video I read the Robot series, but of course that's only the little brother to Foundation, which again, I don't know why these, it's been out for so long and it's such an influential series. I don't know why these covers are so hideous, but I'm looking forward to this one. I thought they were all going to be like this. I thought I bought 3 of the Bantam, but for some reason I got sent 1 of the Del Rey, and the Del Rey one's not bad. I wish all 3 of them were like this, but I can't find editions of like the Del Rey editions of Foundation and Empire. I somehow got randomly sent the second Foundation in Del Rey, while these ones are Bantam. So if you know where to get Del Rey versions of Foundation, the whole trilogy, please let me know. But I'm really looking forward to reading this because this is the sci-fi. And Dune was it's a great epic, a great saga, but it is difficult to read. Asimov has been much more accessible to me and super easy to read, at least in Robot. So that's what I'm hoping for from Foundation. So I'm looking forward to that. Okay, that finishes sci-fi. Now, as for fantasy, there are 2 that I haven't read: The Fall of Gondolin and The Children of Húrin. Of course, these are 2 of the great tales of Middle-earth, the third being Beren and Luthien, which I think is chronologically first, so I read that one first, and that was mentioned in the other video. But I want to read these 2, and then I want to reread, and I put these away because I thought I was done recording for the day when my camera died, but actually the battery charged fast enough that I was able to start again. So I put these away, but I do want to reread The Lord of the Rings after having read the Silmarillion and the appendix to Return of the King, which is super helpful. I do want to reread The Lord of the Rings now that I know what the heck is going on, and now that I have these, since this is partly a book haul, I can go show this more better. But now that I have these beautiful, this is probably a bad example to use. Now that I have these beautiful, nope, the first one was correct. Now that I have these beautiful editions of The Lord of the Rings, all 3 of the main trilogy have the same cover, that have in the back this enormous fold-out map of Middle-earth. Let's see. Which, wow, that sure makes things, that is sure helpful in knowing where the, oh no, did I rip it? Oh, I ripped it. Okay, that's why I should be careful when I handle these. The reason I originally grabbed the Return of the King to show the map, but it's actually glued together when you first get it, and I haven't unglued Return of the King. I only did that for Fellowship and Towers, so that's the reason I didn't show that one, and I had to use Fellowship. But yeah, that map will hopefully be super helpful, as well as the knowledge that I now have of what everything is and who everyone is, and where everything is. So that should be good. So I'm looking to reread Lord of the Rings now that I know what's going on. A series that I actually did know what was going on, in terms of the actual, I mentioned this in the last video, but sorry, I'm multitasking and it's not working. Let me focus on this to make sure I don't destroy by accident the beautiful and expensive edition that my parents gave me so graciously. Okay, so Lord of the Rings, and I probably won't reread the Silmarillion or the Hobbit, but I will reread the Lord of the Rings. The others, oh, also, Unfinished Tales, I have just a regular mass market paperback of because a hardcover was expensive. Unfinished Tales, more Tolkien, right? So just to round out the Tolkien. Okay, now I will also reread this bad boy right here, which I should turn around so it's facing the camera, is A Song of Ice and Fire. These very nice Juniper editions that are they're armored. They have armor on them. I will reread these, even though I think I understood them like perfectly the first time, in terms of like knowing who everyone was, because I think George R. R. Martin did a very good job if you pay attention. So like I know everything, unlike Return of the King, where I like, or Lord of the Rings, where I didn't even know like where is Gondor, right? Where is the Shire in the context of Middle Earth? Like I know, I can point out the 7 kingdoms on a map. Like I know which one is where. I know where the free cities are. But it's just like there's so much going on and it's so rich. And since then I've read Fire and Blood and The World of Ice and Fire, and I've listened to a bunch of the Song of Ice and Fire podcasts, including History of Westeros, my favorite. And so I think I'm better equipped to go into, like, a reread is just mandatory for these books because there is so much going on and they're so thick and rich and detailed and complex that and like the foreshadowing is exquisite, the symbolism exquisite, the themes are really interesting. So I definitely have to reread this now that I've read especially the deep dive into the history that is Fire and Blood and World of Ice and Fire. So that was going to conclude my sci-fi and fantasy section, except I do need to reread Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy because it is a classic and it's kind of, influential in the genre, and I remember it being hilarious the first time I read it, and I need that kind of laughter in my life, right? It was a really fun, easy read, I remember. And this is actually all 6 of his, all 5 of the classic novels in the series, so the other 4 I haven't read, and I'm looking forward to it. Looking forward to this. Okay, last but not least, the classics section of this video, which is, wow, going to be a much shorter video than the other one, which I'm happy about. Also, I think it's about to cut me off, so let me just preemptively... Okay, I stopped that recording and started a new one. Hopefully that resolves whatever issue... maybe it's like SD card writing speed, I don't know, but something always, at least in the last video that I recorded, would, like at 11:56, minutes and seconds would like stop the recording automatically, and I don't know why. But hopefully I just preempted it, or I just trolled myself and it'll be like, 30 seconds in, it'll go off, but we'll see. Okay, now, classics. This is the last section of books that I own that I'm looking forward to reading. Really quick view of the stack because it's one I can actually hold in my hand. It's right here. Now let's go through those one by one. We have Othello, which, Shakespeare matches my copy of Macbeth, which I put somewhere and I don't know where that is. Then we have Hamlet, which I'm super excited about because we were supposed to read it this year in school, but we, ran out of time because of a shorter, curriculum, just because, online school. But Hamlet, I'm so excited to read because, Shakespeare at his finest. Pride and Prejudice, this is a copy that was lent to me by a friend. It is, again, a signature classics, so I'm excited to read Pride and Prejudice. For Whom the Bell Tolls and A Farewell to Arms complete the Hemingway that I recently bought, along with, it's over there, and I talked about it in the last video. The Sun Also Rises. These two are, they round out my Hemingway collection, and I'm really excited to read them. The Sun Also Rises was kind of sort of like about everyday life because it was, The Lost Generation was post-war. These ones are war novels, and so I think in terms of action they'll be, hopefully, have a little more going on, and maybe those themes will be a little more familiar to me. The Lost Generation was kind of like about ennui and despair and, like finding your identity or finding meaning in this, world that's been like shattered of meaning because of the horrors of World War I. Themes about war I'm a little more familiar with, so maybe these ones will be easier for me to digest, I'm hoping. But yeah, I have these two. And then Their Eyes Are Watching God, Zora Neale Hurston. This was given to me at a literature camp a long time ago, and I haven't read it, but I own it, and it's a classic, and so I want to read it. So that one's on my TBR. Beloved, I have to say, I appreciate at least that they're very consistent about it, but I do not like this series of Toni Morrison covers. I wish they had done some kind of artwork or something, because I just don't like this typography. I find it ugly. But I'm told this book is beautiful, and so I'm really looking forward to, and like the spine, like what's going on there? I'm really looking forward to reading the book, and this is also a copy that the same friend who read Dorian Gray with me also has a copy of, so we will read it and discuss it together, and I'm looking forward to that. I have 100 Years of Solitude, but it's Cien Años de Soledad. It's the original version, it's in Spanish. And I did try reading a chapter of it or two, and my Spanish is just not that advanced, I will have to say. So I think I'm going to read it in English and then read it in Spanish. I was planning to do like chapter by chapter, like read a chapter in English and then read it in Spanish. But I think I'd rather just like focus and get a, like be in one headspace for the whole book. And so I'm going to read the whole thing in English and then go back and read the whole thing in Spanish with the English text for reference, I think. I think that's how I'm going to do it. But I am looking forward to this because it's supposed to be very, very, very good. And you know, I want to sort of diversify my literature intake, and I don't read that much Latin American literature, so looking forward to this. And then the last book on my TBR, which I'm surprised I got through it that quickly. The last book on my TBR is The Odyssey of Homer. The Odyssey. Actually, it's funny. I saw this at Barnes & Noble, and then I looked at it and I was like, well, I want to buy it, but I don't need to read the Odyssey again, because we did read this my freshman year in high school, and I was like, we don't need to read this again. And then I got assigned to me to read for summer homework, so now I'm reading it, and now I have this copy that I passed by in Barnes & Noble. But, you know, you can never read Homer too many times, right? So after I read the Iliad, I'm going to read the Odyssey. Looking forward to reading those two, and maybe talking about them. I don't know. I don't really know how this channel is going to be shaping up. I don't know if I'm going to do book reviews for every book, for like individual books, or what I'm going to do. I will say that I will probably have more book hauls because I was recently, for a combination of like birthday and graduation stuff, I was generously given a lot of money in, these are Barnes & Noble gift cards. So, you know, I have money to spend at Barnes & Noble. So I will probably be buying more books and showing them on here. And I'll have to decide which books to take with me to college. But yeah. I don't want to unnecessarily fill time rambling because I like to have something to say when I'm talking. So hopefully you enjoyed that quick little book haul. Quick by the standards of, like, in comparison to the last video, it is still like, I think like 25 minutes long or something. So if you watch the whole thing, thanks. And yeah, that is the last video I'm recording today, and probably for a while, because these two took me a second to like lead up to. But hopefully you enjoyed them. Hopefully the camera's in focus. Oh, I forgot to sit back. I bet you I was too close for the second part of the video, or any time after I got up and then sat back down. But please give me feedback on how these videos are going, whether or not they're interesting, whether or not like I could talk in a different way, or whether or not you have any advice about like videography. Even if you're not a camera person, like just tell me what the symptom is, and I will try to figure out what the root cause is and address it. Like you're too up close. I can fix that. The audio is weird. Like I can try to fix that. It's out of focus. I can, like, that'll prompt me to learn how to properly set up the focus. But yeah, hopefully that was enjoyable, and I will. I don't know how to end this. I will see you sometime. I don't know if I'll see you. Goodbye.